Hi, I'm Greg Dell with attorneys Dell and Schaefer, joined by attorney Stephen Jessup, and we're going to talk about a recent case that Stephen resolved against Lincoln Financial Company, which was formerly Liberty Life of Boston. And in this video, Stephen, I'd like you to discuss the background of your case, what you were able to achieve for our client, and then we'll try to give some tips for people that they could take away from this case to either keep themselves on claim or how to handle denial if they find themselves in the same situation. So what was the background of this particular case?
You know, it was a sad story. This case was based on a mental health diagnosis, major depression. The client, younger guy, had graduate degree in technology stuff. He was a programmer for his company type thing. Had some issues in the workplace. That started, spiraling anxiety and depression. Then he had 2 deaths in the family, and it got to the point where it was too much for him, and he filed for disability. He left, had issues with the employer. When I first met him, it was a real hard and messy, time for him. And unfortunately, when he contacted us, Lincoln was advising him they didn't think he was disabled.
And was he a computer programmer?
Yeah, he did computer programming, and it had to do with like health and environmental stuff for the company he worked for.
So what type of disability coverage did he have?
Your typical employer-provided policy that he got. One of the nuances and caveat in his situation, he'd only been working for the company for about 8 months. So as you know, that triggered an immediate pre-existing condition review.
Talk about, I know what that is,
yeah.
But tell people what that is.
So meaning Lincoln was saying, all right, well, you haven't been covered under the policy for 12 months. So because of that, we have to go and take a look at the look-back period, which in this case, 3 months prior to when you started. And if you had any treatment for mental health, or you took any medication, or a reasonably prudent person would have went and gotten treatment, it's going to be pre-existing, and we're going to exclude it from coverage. So that was the first obstacle to kind of overcome, which was proven. The medical records showed it wasn't pre-existing. So then Lincoln turned to this idea, well, we don't think there's enough information here to support medically necessary restrictions and limitations from doing your job.
So when he first contacted you, what was the status of his claim?
The pre-existing was still pending. That review was still pending, so we helped get him through that, and then the denial immediately soon. It was almost within the same week. I mean, he got us on board, and within a week, pre-existing condition concern was knocked off, but then they denied for a lack of information.
So he contacted you. There was a delay going on in their claim handling. He reached out to you because he didn't have a good feeling about it. How common is it for a disability company to do a pre-existing condition evaluation?
Anytime you file within that first 12-month period of being covered, and I mean, some policies I've seen as long as a 24-month period, but typically 12 months. If you are filing within the first 12 months, regardless of cause, they're going to do a pre-existing condition review.
If someone's had their benefits for greater than 12 months with the same employer, do they have to worry about a pre-existing condition?
I would say 99% of the time, no. Like I said, I've seen some weird policies, but for the most part, no. If you're beyond the 12 months, then it's a pre-existing condition, it's just not limited from coverage.
Right, and that's brought up stories where we've had people call us who have filed on like day 364, 363 with a pre-existing condition, and unfortunately they automatically lose coverage because of that.
That is a hard line date, yep.
Okay, so what were you able to do for this client once his claim got denied?
So once the claim was denied, part of the problem is in the process while he was contacting us, and it was like within a week, right? So it's a very short amount of time. So the initial denial, we were still trying to collect medical information because he had relocated. He wasn't seeing his initial doctor. He was trying to establish new care. He didn't have funds, so it was not a good situation for him. He was treating with, at that time, a therapist.
What kind of therapist?
Mental health therapist, licensed
like a
social
worker? And is that acceptable under these policies?
It is, but it can be tricky in the sense that you can have a licensed social worker who gives you therapy, right? That's appropriate care, but the insurance companies say, well, our doctor. So it's almost like our MD trumps your, social worker type thing. And even then, his treatment was a little, off and on with it. Unfortunately, she wasn't the most supportive in wanting to complete paperwork and forms that we sent her.
His social worker.
His social worker, even after having conversations with her. And then it really turned into going into the claim file, right? And then presenting this real human element to the client. I mean, he went through in a very short span of time quite a bit of loss. And then taking a look at what his job duties were and really impressing upon, the amount of the grief he was going through and these things. And initially he had, a psychiatrist and he was on medication. So they didn't have a problem and that was during the short-term disability period. But by the time it got to the long-term, where we're having the problems, the treatment wasn't really there. So, we presented the best appeal we could, making the arguments on old medical records, arguments about lack of ability for money for treatment, having to relocate to a new city, all these things. And, we presented these arguments to them in the appeal. Very happily for him, they overturned the denial.
And so it sounds like you had an uphill battle with this particular claim because of the lack of medical treatment. But how were you able to turn it around during the appeal? Were there additional doctors involved?
No. Sometimes I'm still mystified on cases that'll get approved and some will get denied. I think in this situation where we've always argued it's the documentation you can provide and present, I think in this one it really came down to the arguments, almost like this logical common sense element of, you take a look at all these things, do you think he could be doing this job? Because we didn't have a lot of that medical support. Not to say he didn't have severe problems, it wasn't there on paper like we like to see it.
So you felt by really appealing to the emotions of the claims rep person, which we do say they're human beings and not necessarily machines who have to automatically deny every claim, they basically looked at it and said it's reasonable why he didn't have as much medical care, or at least continued medical care, because it seems like you were saying he did have the psychiatrist early on. So what about now, though? Or, in the couple months after, since you won this, that they're not going to take that argument for a long time.
Well, this is an interesting one, in a case that, makes me very happy for him. I think he's a great person. Part of the appeal, we said he had intentions of wanting to return to work. So this, when I first spoke to him, I knew this wasn't a case, even though it was a 24-month limitation, it may not get there. He was just in such a bad place. I'm like, I'm going to help him. I want to help him. We'll do what we can do for him. So they approved, reinstated benefits, but then they wanted continuing information as of, March 19th to continue to support it. And by that point, when I spoke with him, he's like, listen, I am so much in a better place now. I'm interviewing, I'm trying to get back to life, work, get my life in order and everything. And last I spoke to him just a little over a week ago, he was taking a new job in this, his hometown. So the claims ended. It wasn't a big one, but I was very happy for him. And I think this one's unique in the sense that this is one of those cases where there's not a lot of information. And even in the appeal, I argue he's planning on returning to work. Sure, it's a 24-month limitation. He's young, he's got degrees, he's too bright. He wants to get back to work, he just needs help during this time. So actually, I think this is one of those occasions where whoever the appeal review manager was really, did the right thing, more so on that human level. Right. Than you would normally see.
And I think it was a unique case because most of your cases, our clients are going to be out for a much longer period of time. Here you were looking at 6 to 8 months of additional benefits.
Or maybe a year at most.
And it had already gone on for a year for this particular person. So that was an unusual way for you to be able to argue, look, I don't need a ton of evidence because he's kind of on the road to recovery, but you guys made you have an obligation to pay him because he can't work during this period of time. So it's a good story. It worked out well. It's great when clients that we help are able to use the coverage as a stopgap, meaning that they do get back to work because it's better all around. It's better for their mind. Hopefully they're feeling better. It's better financially. At the end of the day, this is to compensate them, but it never gets them whole to the point of what they were making before. So this was a great story.
Yeah, from the time I spoke to him the first time to the last conversation, completely different person.
So if you're someone out there that has a Lincoln long-term disability insurance policy and need help at any stage of your claim, feel free to call Stephen or myself. No matter where you live in the country, we're available to assist you, and we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.